Putin, Russia's president, says there is no such thing as the Wagner Group. The meeting occurred on June 29, only 5 days after the June 24 mutiny was initiated by Wagner fighters. The Wagner mercenary group, which led a brief rebellion against Russia's military leadership in June, simply does not exist, according to Russian President Vladimir Putin. According to CNN's reporting, the president spoke to the Russian newspaper Kommersant, providing the first public account of the content of a Kremlin meeting attended by 35 Wagner commanders and led by Yevgeny Prigozhin, the group's leader. The meeting occurred on June 29, only 5 days after the June 24 mutiny was initiated by Wagner fighters. Both their performance on the battlefield in Ukraine and their behavior during the events of June 24 were discussed at the meeting. Finally, I discussed the ways in which their combat experience could be put to use in their future service. Putin reportedly said, "That's it." When asked if they would be kept together as a fighting force, President Trump said, "Well, Wagner PMC does not exist. There is no regulation of private military companies under current law. Quite simply, it is not real. To my knowledge, no such entity exists. There is a group, but it does not exist in law. This has nothing to do with the process of legalization itself. However, the State Duma, the government, is the proper forum for exploring this issue further. This is not a simple query." Putin went on to say that he had offered the 35 Wagner commanders multiple employment opportunities, including one led by their direct commander, who goes by the call sign, Sadoy, gray hair, and under whom Wagner fighters had fought for the previous 16 months. Putin was quoted as saying to the newspaper, "They could have all gathered in one place and continued to serve," according to CNN. "And their lives wouldn't have evolved in any way either. The same person who has been their true leader from the start would now be in charge of them." Focusing on the contested South China Sea, the war in Ukraine, and North Korea's missiles, top diplomats from the United States, China, and Russia meet with Southeast Asian foreign ministers on security on Friday. The 27-nation ASEAN Regional Forum, ARF, has a history of discord behind closed doors and will serve as a platform for major powers to square off on a wide range of issues. As U.S.-Chinese tensions rise over self-ruled Taiwan, Beijing's close ties with Moscow, and a tug-of-war for influence in the South Pacific, host Indonesia warned that the Southeast Asian bloc ASEAN cannot become a proxy. Members of the ARF, which also includes Japan, South Korea, and Australia, will include U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken, Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi, and Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov. At an earlier East Asia summit, attended by ministers from 18 countries, Indonesia's Foreign Minister Retno Marsudi emphasized that the Indo-Pacific must not be another battleground. "We are committed to maintaining peace and tranquility in our area." As Russia's widely condemned invasion of Ukraine drags on, no bilateral talks are expected between Blinken and Lavrov, who would meet on Friday for the first time since a brief encounter in India in March. Criticism of North Korea and Myanmar. On Thursday, however, Wang and Blinken met for the second time in as many months in an effort to stabilize relations between Washington and Beijing. Blinken reportedly assured Wang that the United States would hold the hackers accountable for the hacking of government email accounts, which was later traced to actors with state support in China. According to a statement released by the Chinese Foreign Ministry on Friday, Wang called on the United States to work with China in the same direction, to improve relations and stop interfering in China's affairs. On Thursday, Wang met with Lavrov in place of Foreign Minister Qin Gang, who was ill. The two leaders agreed to increase strategic communication and cooperation between their countries. Lavrov told Indonesian media this week that the war in Ukraine would continue until the West stopped trying to defeat Russia. Australian Foreign Minister Penny Wong brought up human rights concerns with Wang before they sat down to talk again on Friday. A North Korean official would attend the ASEAN Regional Forum, but Pyongyang did not send its foreign minister. On Thursday, North Korea announced that it had successfully tested an intercontinental ballistic missile powered by solid fuel. It was expected that Western nations would condemn the launch and the junta's alleged attacks on civilians in Myanmar at the meeting. This week's ASEAN meetings, from which the junta has been excluded, have been dominated by discussions of the situation in Myanmar. The Association of Southeast Asian Nations, ASEAN, issued a joint communiqué on Thursday in which they condemned the violence in Myanmar and urged the implementation of the five-point peace plan agreed upon with the junta 2 years ago. As the junta continues to shrug off international condemnation and refuse to negotiate with its opponents, the bloc's efforts have proven futile so far.